Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
Hello, everybody. This is Sandy Weiner, and I am the founder and chief love officer at lastfirstdate.com. I am devoted to helping women and men achieve healthy, off-the-charts love in the second half of life. And we have a fabulous show coming up for you today. I'm going to be speaking with social worker, coach, mentor, and musician, Jeff Zeth, about relationships in middle age. Does age really matter? As a dating coach, I specialize in helping women date as the high-value women that they are in every other part of their lives. When she knows her true worth, she attracts her most aligned partner. Most of the women who come to me for support are incredible mothers and successful in the workforce, but they have challenges when it comes to their romantic relationships. Here's one of the mistakes that I notice over and over again. Women often date with the same energy that they bring to their jobs: competition, one-upsmanship, being argumentative. And while this can help them become a success in the workforce, it can totally turn off the men that they're interested in. I used to think that men would be more attracted to me if they knew how crazy busy I was. This is a really common mistake, and once you understand what does not work in dating, you can easily make a few small changes in how you present yourself on dates and to your dates. Crazy busy is actually a word that connotes like a numbing, like that you're so busy that you don't have time for anything or anybody. And the way that men took it wasn't, wow, she's so competent, she's so amazing. They would think, well, she doesn't have time for me. So, you know, a simple word can turn off somebody. A simple way of presenting yourself can be a total turnoff, and it's not necessarily representative of who you are at your best. So I would love to help you change some of these dating behaviors if you find yourself making them, because I want you to have a healthy and loving relationship. And that's why I created a free guide where I explain the top 3 mistakes that midlife daters make and how you can turn them around to find lasting love. It's my free gift to you, and if you want a copy, all you have to do is go to lastfirstdate.com and sign up on my home page, because I want you to go on your last first date. Today we have a fabulous sponsor, eHarmony.
Are you turned off by online dating? Say hello to EH Plus. This is eHarmony founder Dr. Neil Clark Warren. EH Plus takes the best parts of eHarmony and combines them with personal matchmaking. With EH Plus, a matchmaker will learn all about you and handpick your matches. No computer needed. Get started today. Call 855-940-LOVE. That's 855-940-LOVE.
And now our special guest, Jeff Zeth. He is a social worker, a parent, a coach, a mentor, and a musician. He has 25 years of experience helping people create change. And he also calls himself your average guy who figured things out with the help of some wise teachers who challenged and inspired him. He's a published author in the area of men's issues and addiction, and he blogs at rhythmoflifecoach.wordpress.com. Join us now as we discuss dating in midlife and whether age really matters. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let's talk about dating in midlife. What do you find are the biggest differences between dating now, over 40, 50, 60, and dating, say, in your 20s?
I can speak from personal experience, and I can also speak from the experience of a lot of the people that I've worked with. And I can tell you probably one of the biggest differences is that in your 20s, and into your 30s, and to some degree, into your early 40s, in this culture, it's kind of considered okay to not know what you want, to sort of, drift along, letting things happen to you. But that's absolutely the kiss of death when you hit midlife. Midlife, particularly men, which is who I work with, men are really expected to know who and what they want. And if you don't adjust your style from when you're in your 20s and you just sort of drift along and allow things to happen to you, you can find yourself setting yourself back in a major way.
I haven't looked at it from the men's perspective. Obviously, I'm a woman,
Yes.
and I work mostly with women. But I found this interesting. So you're saying that men, even into their 40s, are kind of drifting along, and it's okay in the dating world for them
maybe
to do
20s, maybe 20s and 30s.
that? Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it really depends. It depends on the man. It depends on the situation. But I think in general, it's things can happen without a whole lot of agency. College campuses are places where it's relatively easy to meet someone without a lot of effort and things like that. And so I know a lot of relationships get formed that way. And when a young man or a young woman graduates, they're sort of out in the world, and it's really a different environment. It's an environment where they have to take volition, they have to take initiative, and meet the people that they want, and put themselves in environments where they're likely to meet the people who are going to further their career and possibly help them meet their life partner. So it's a little different, the agency.
So now you're talking about like the difference in how you meet people. So in college, it's sort of a cushion, and it's okay to not have to take initiative because it's pretty easy to meet people, which I agree.
Yeah, I remember college being in. Oh, go for it.
College what?
I just remember college being an environment where it was really pretty easy to meet people. You didn't have to work too hard. People were in class with you. They were, on campus with you, particularly a small college where I went to a small college campus. You see the same people day after day.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that difficult.
Yeah. So when you get older, you have to create those opportunities for sure. And so how would you suggest that people meet people when they get older?
A big part of it is knowing what you want. You have to really come up with a clear picture of the type of person you want to meet. People use vision boards and things like that. It's important to kind of choose to put your attention on it. Once you choose to put your attention on it, then you can kind of flesh out the details of, who your ideal partner is, what they're going to look like, what they're going to be like. And then the next step really is putting yourself in environments where you're likely to meet those people. And then for men, and women, I would imagine it's going to be different. As you know, I work with a lot of men. So with men, it's a question of, who do I talk to? How do I talk to her? Things like that. I'm not sure what it would be for women, but it would be, taking those three steps, like first figuring out what you want, looking at the environment where you're likely to have access to those people, and then taking the steps to meet them.
Mm-hmm. So you're giving men confidence, it sounds like, to be able to speak to women and make that first move. Is that part of what your work is?
Yeah. I'm trying to. The way I do it is I want men to really think about women. There's a lot of men now that really think of women in the abstract and the theoretical. And one of the first things I do with men, particularly if they haven't dated for a long time, is get them out there in the world dealing with real live women. It's pretty difficult if you're isolated. It's pretty difficult to kind of break out of that shell. It's pretty easy to stay isolated, and so one of the first things I do is just get them out, talking to people. I work on a couple of different fronts. I mean, I'll talk to them about their physical body, about what they need to do to feel good about themselves. I'm not a trainer, of course, but I'll talk to them about what they need to do to feel good about themselves physically, and that in and of itself, produces a tremendous amount of confidence. Just that, and then there's a whole bunch of different steps that men can take to sort of add value to their interactions and help them, help them get the courage to actually go out and start speaking to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting. There are so many people who are so freaked out by being in these social situations that feel like you're speaking to a foreign person, like somebody from another planet almost. And I mean, I'm always curious when I lead my groups of women to hear what they have to say about their feelings about men. Because we have so many beliefs that are ingrained from our history, from the media, and right now I'm teaching a communications course, and so I said, well, how do you think men communicate, and what do you think of men? And I just wanted to hear the negative stuff because there's a lot of it, and I wanted to get it all out on the table. And it was amazing what came out. Like, men are chauvinistic, men are self-centered, they're narcissists, they are they are emotionally shut down. And so, my job is to help them see that not all men are like that. They may have had an experience with some men who they attracted into their lives who acted that way, and some of it is because of how they presented themselves. If they allowed abuse to happen by the way that they did not have boundaries or whatever, confidence or the many things that we need to have healthy relationships. And I'm curious as to what men are saying about women.
Similar things, actually. It's funny to hear you talk about some of the things that women are bringing up, because it's similar. When men go negative, they tend to talk about some of the same things. They're narcissistic. They're stuck up. They really want only wealthy guys, or they only want really good-looking guys. And of course, anyone who spends any time with real women knows that it's not all about the how much money a guy has or how good-looking a guy is. So yeah, I mean it's similar. There's I think a lot of men take their own shallow side and kind of put it out onto the women that they're meeting, and so they're seeing shallowness and they're seeing that side of themselves in the women that they meet, and it's sad when a guy can't get past that and can't really see beyond the surface, because there's some really wonderful women out there.
Yeah, and I there are some wonderful men out there, and I think that often when women and men need to be in conversation more often, which is why I bring men into my coaching groups, so that women can actually ask questions and talk to them about their concerns. When I taught a course on how to find love online, I had a panel of men for the last class, and women were saying things like, "Tell us how to be. How do you want us to be? Just tell us." And the guys were saying, like, be real, like, be you.
Yeah.
The problem with being you is often that being you has been so covered up in so many layers that it's not very attractive. It's you with no boundaries. It's you, being a people pleaser, which isn't really the true you. So I help get discern the difference between being real and actually, just letting it all hang loose and saying, hey, you like me for who I am.
I'm so glad you said that, because the men's issues are the same, even though on the surface they look totally different. men really have a hard time showing who they are. And of course, we get this advice all the time, from well-meaning friends and family, just be yourself. Well, what does that mean? I mean, who else am I being? And,
Exactly.
I mean, people aren't really accepting me for who I'm presenting, but what they're presenting is, it's what you're describing, someone who's people-pleasing and doing all these things, adding these extra layers of being that are really kind of artificial and were added later as ways to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation. We could have a whole show about the differences between men and women and how we see each other. I'm really fascinated by this topic. But I want to take a quick break. We'll come back in a minute to speak with Jeff Zeth about what kind of mindset is helpful when dating in midlife. And but right now, I'm going to give another shout out to our sponsor, eHarmony. Are you frustrated with online dating? Well, I have good news for you. The number one relationship experts at eHarmony have created a new premium service, and it's called EH Plus. EH Plus combines the personal attention of a matchmaker with eHarmony's matching technology and extensive pool of great singles. With EH Plus, each matchmaker will learn about you and handpick your matches, so there's no computer needed. I know a lot of my clients would love that. Are you ready to find the love of your life? Get started at ehplus.com. That's www.ehplus.com. And one thing that I learned is that EH Plus, their matchmakers are all they're very skilled. They have PhDs. They are therapists, and I'm actually interviewing one of them next month, and I'm excited because she's going to share so much great information about how to date with dignity and self-respect and open up your search so that you're not so narrow in what you're looking for. So like back to what we were just saying, Jeff, about shallowness and the preconceived notions and limiting beliefs. I mean, this is so common. So, this is all about mindset. So let's talk about mindset. And what do you think is a helpful mindset when dating in midlife?
Well, particularly, for the over 40 crowd, it's pretty important that you play to your strengths and that you not be anything other than who you are. And who we are is, someone who's seen something of the world. We're people who've maybe had to fight for a thing or two in our lives. We've seen some things and we've done some things, and it's really important that we play to those strengths and let that hang out. It's also very equally important that we not try to emulate the behavior of young people. I'm always telling my male clients, do not dress like you're 25 years old. Dress like you're 45 years old or 35 years old. And, you're going to go to venues where you're likely to meet people who want to talk to you. So it's a matter of, choosing appropriate clothes that really express who you are and the experience that you've gained, and putting yourself out there in environments that are going to let you shine as a midlife person.
So what environments would those be? Can you name a few that people might want to check out?
Oh gosh, online is it's growing now. I think I read something a few weeks ago about the online environment being more accessed now by an older crowd. It's great if you've got if you've got responsibilities at home and things like that. For those who like to go out, I would say definitely avoid the high energy environments and go ballroom dancing. Ballroom, salsa, those places. People love to dance. That's one thing. I tend to discourage clients from going to the singles events for a couple of different reasons, but definitely learn to enjoy yourself in these other kinds of alternate environments.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I like meetups also.
Yes.
Meetup.com.
Oh,
Those are great.
I organized a group on Meetup. It's funny that
Oh.
I completely forgot Meetup. Yeah, Meetup.com is great. Talking about people who love Italian wine from southern Italy or something, or coffee from Central America. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to get sort of organize meetups around your interests. Get together with like-minded people, and if you do that often enough, you'll start meeting members of the opposite sex that that you're attracted to as a matter of course.
Yeah, and you'll have things in common, and it's much more organic than going to a singles event where everybody feels like they're just kind of in a meat market.
Yep.
I always hated them, and I actually forced myself to go to things just because I tell my clients to try lots of things. So I said, I'm going to go way out of my comfort zone and go to some of these horrible parties with loud noise and basements and oh my God, everything.
You're a brave soul.
I did it twice, and I said, okay, I'm done. I just, just really hated it. It's just not. You can't even have a conversation. It's not me. It's not me.
It can be fun as a confidence builder, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, some people love them. Some people love having huge social gatherings, especially if you're an extrovert. You're going to love being in a really stimulating environment. But if you're an introvert like me, I like being in quieter environments and having deeper conversations. Really feel so awkward in a situation like that, and always have my whole life. So it's not changed since I was in my 20s. So let me ask you a question. I just got off the phone with somebody who's, she's in her late 60s, maybe early 70s. She's always dated men who are much younger. And she says, I get along better with younger men. She has men in her life who are in their 40s. One of the things she said is, there are a couple of things that were interesting, but one is that men her age tend to have sexual issues and are very, their ego prevents them from really exploring ways to do things alternatively. Do you have any experience with that? Like how to handle a situation where you're dating in midlife and your partner has a sexual issue, and it can happen with men and women. How to handle that with grace and dignity?
Well, I think it's important to, once we start talking about sexual issues, it's, there's a whole bunch of medical interventions now that were not available up until pretty recently. We have medications now and injections too. For there's people with histories of prostate cancer. I know a lot of men are surviving prostate cancer now, and so there's all different kinds of ways, but that you can address some of the problems. But you need to be willing to admit first that you're not the man at 70 that you were at 20, and it takes a certain amount of humility and introspection. You need to be able to admit those things before you get the help. So, and of course, a nice healthy dose of open-mindedness and looking for other ways of pleasuring your partner is pretty important, I would say. When there's significant age differences, I think that's definitely true. So your friend, it sounds like she has more in common with the much younger men. There may be a generational thing too. That I think not that insight is more valued in this generation, but there's a certain mindset, I think, which allows men to be a little bit more vulnerable now in the sense that they were not available to do that, 30, 40 years ago when some of these older men were growing up. That's my guess.
I agree with you. I mean, that's been my experience as a woman dating at this age, that I'm finding men to be much more open-minded. They are more willing to talk about feelings. I also know how to talk about feelings better than I did, and I think that if both people are working on becoming much more vulnerable and better at communication and creating a safe environment, then you can have these conversations and nobody feels threatened or unsafe, which is really the key.
Yeah, safety and comfort are important. Safety, it's kind of a buzzword now, and when it comes to relationships, safety is important, but there's also a certain amount of risk, I think, that's necessary too. And I am going to go out on a limb here and say that it's really incumbent upon the man to take the risk for a couple of different reasons, and probably one of them being that if you've taken a look at there's this wonderful book that's really influenced my life a lot called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data, who talks about how masculine people, it's not right to say men because there's different, there's masculine and feminine qualities in both men and women, but masculine-oriented people tend to grow through challenge, and feminine-oriented people tend to grow through praise and things like that. So I think the masculine person in the relationship is really the one responsible for really taking the risk and for sitting with discomfort, probably more than the other partner.
So risk in terms of like kind of risk?
Showing vulnerability, maybe getting out of your comfort zone a little bit more than you're used to doing. I don't believe that it's the feminine partner's responsibility to do that. I think that the masculine partner really needs to do that.
Well, it's always wonderful when the masculine partner does do that. And what I train my clients to do is to create the space for the man to show up. Because what I find is they often emasculate by showing up and making wrong. And I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. It's when you're constantly criticizing, making wrong, correcting, even as simple as, I'd love to take you out to dinner at this Italian restaurant, and she says, oh, I hate Italian. Instead of just being encouraging, thank you so much for, wanting to take me out, might I suggest a different restaurant because I really prefer Chinese food. I mean, just the difference in language can make all the difference, because men want to win. They want to be winning with the woman, and women don't always create that environment to help them win.
Well, the beauty of that problem too, Sandy, that you're describing, I mean, the positive part of that is that, the women in these relationships are very strong. And, what they need to, it sounds like what they need to do is really figure out a way to express that strength in ways that are attractive to the man. And that are not going to emasculate them, as you said.
Yeah, and I think we'd all be a lot better off if they're a lot better, and to not be judging as much and criticizing as much. Well, let's solve the world's problems in a half hour. This is
I've enjoyed it a lot, Sandy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff.
Me.
I really appreciate you being on the show today. And so people want to reach you. How can they find you?
Sure, they can they can write to me at jrzeth2@gmail.com. That's JR, my first initials, and then ZETH, then the numeral 2@gmail.com. And, they can tell me whatever it is that they want to tell me. I am running a men's support group every other Tuesday for men who are actively dating, who want to use what we call SMART goals, where we're really looking at running your dating life like a business. And we're really going to take all the tools that people are used to using in business. we're going to apply those to our dating lives. So that's something that's happening for anyone who's in the New York City area.
Oh, cool. I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Sure.
Well, we are out of time, and so thank you again, Jeff, and thank you everyone for tuning in today, and I hope you go on your last first date very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You take care.